Everybody, BobbyFi and Eric Sheets-Haber. We're going to be talking about Week 11 of the NFL this season. I know it's not NFL, but Sheets coming off a nice third-place finish in the big alley-oop last night for $20K. That was beautiful, and hopefully we can ride that momentum into this weekend. Great job, man, and ready to get into this slate with you whenever you're ready.
Yeah,
Any overall?
We'll talk about the NFL. Okay, so just so everybody knows, like, there's basically no NBA tonight, just one game. And I already did, just so you guys know, my MMA breakdown the other day. They did add one fight, so I'm going to include that in my lineup construction video, which I'm probably going to do tomorrow, and I'm going to do the betting breakdown tomorrow. I think NASCAR's off for the rest of the year, which is bad for NASCAR, but kind of good for us. I think maybe we can have Brandon doing some other stuff also. Now that there's no NASCAR for a while, so maybe he can help with the showdown stuff. And that we're listen. That's going on tonight. I actually do have some takes on that. So I'll throw them in here just in case I'm not able to go on live later with you, just so that we have them. And continuing to press on.
Yep. Sounds good. All right. Well, anything for this slate, this Week 11 slate that's jumping out? Because to me, it seems like there's a lot of, at first glance at the projections, there's a lot of the chalk that just seems a little like maybe we don't have to do that. And there's certain games that I like that are a little different, but nothing's, anything in general that you want to throw out there before we go game.
Yeah, I with the exception of, again, there's a guy who could possibly be like amazing value or possibly like zero value. We don't even know yet. Like this S-Teen guy. Like right now, I'm not having him project all that well. And in the absence of that, my initial take on the slate is that it's pretty, non-value oriented from the running back position. And as a result, I might get pretty concentrated there and spread out. I mean, seems like pretty normal actually, but to spread out at receiver, I do have like 1, 2, 3. I think it looks like 6 running backs that I think dominate my rankings, and a lot of ways I think I can go with receiver. So that's something to think about, I guess.
Yep, for sure. And remember, it's not the NBA, so we don't have to count on quite so much chalk hitting as it's been happening lately for the value. It's been crazy in the NBA. All right, so first game we have up here is Green Bay, Chicago. Why don't you start this one off? Because I'm trying to.
Yeah, this doesn't feel like that great of a game. Doesn't project like that great of a game. You do have a little narrative. I mean, whenever you have a new offensive coordinator, I mean, typically whenever you do anything, the team usually bumps a little bit. And Green Bay is prone to play some high-scoring games. So if you want to go back to what has been a remarkably disappointing Caleb Williams over the last couple of weeks, along with I guess DJ Moore and Adunzi or whatever, I wouldn't blame you. I mean, I think it's going to be low-owned because none of them are projecting well at all. So right off the bat, I think that's actually pretty decent. If you wanted to play the Green Bay side, I would also say that, again, same thing. Chicago, you have to look at the injury report a little bit because they were missing a bunch of defenders last week. I don't know if any of them are back or whatever it is, but that obviously will help Chicago and hurt Green Bay a little bit if that happens. I do see Josh Jacobs is a limited participation practice. I don't know what that is. If he's out, then you have minimum cost running backs value from Green Bay. Okay. So we have to obviously take a look at that. Green Bay receivers, they're all in. And I just never quite know who to play. Now, they're all not that expensive, but I really literally wouldn't know which one of these to play. So I guess that's pretty a comprehensive view of this game.
Yeah, you said it a lot more detail than I had thoughts of. I have Josh Jacobs, Keenan Allen, Bears defense, and none of those as particularly exciting plays, but all 3 I'm considering. That's pretty much all I've got for this game.
Okay.
I do think, like you said, though, you made a good point, though. There is a case to be made that there is an outside chance that this game could get a little wild, and it is in Chicago at least. Maybe it's one of those you keep on the back burner for the millionaire and maker, and you have a couple lineups out of 150. Sorry.
Have you heard any scuttlebutt about this Josh Jacobs thing or no?
No, not much. Just that he's, I think he's probably most likely to play. If he's already participating in any fashion, and it's early in the week still. As long as if it's before Friday, I'm assuming he's going to play, but I'm not 100% sure. Jacksonville, Detroit.
Yeah. Detroit is a massive favorite. They probably have a massive team total as well. But it becomes that typical discussion of is number one, does Jacksonville have enough to push Detroit so that Detroit tries that hard? And number two, I guess, or 1B, do you need Jacksonville to do that for Detroit to get there? I do have A.S. Brown as one of the top, if not the top overall receiver on the slate. So, I mean, at only 8K, whatever. He was, I think, a little bit disappointing last week. But I do like him. I don't have Gibbs listed. I'm trying to think of what else I have listed for Detroit. The only guy I really have listed here is one of my top plays is St. Brown. Jacksonville, the only thing I really could get to was the tight end. I've had Ingram looking pretty good, and that seems to make sense. Obviously, watch the injury report with all this stuff. Like Bigsby did not practice Wednesday. Now, Dearness Johnson was limited Wednesday. We haven't really played Etienne. I mean, he hasn't given us any reason to play him like the whole season, pretty much. But if he gets the right injury report, if he's the only guy in the backfield, and that's not a bad idea either. So again, watch the injury report as usual. I'm inclined to, I don't know. I don't think this game is going to deliver.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time seeing this one as well. I just want to point out that Amon-Ra St. Brown has not reached, I don't think he's gone over 26 fantasy points this year. And at that price, that's just unacceptable. You cannot play players at 8K unless they're getting you near 30, or at least they're doing it somewhat often. Not that he can't this week or that he can't at all like he did last year. He had 28 in one game. He hasn't had 30 yet. Last year he had a bunch of 30 games. But this is a high price to pay. And I just think there's other ways to go. I mean, sure, maybe sprinkle him in, but I don't see him being a particularly good play. The only one I have interested in is Ingram, because it is one thing the Lions will do. They'll keep the ball in front of them a little bit and they, give the game script of Jacksonville trying to come back. Maybe you could talk yourself into that. Maybe you could talk yourself into Brian Thomas. But those are the only things, and they're both very fringy, not even close to priorities for me. If this was a little, I just wish Jacksonville was a little bit better, because I could see myself getting more interested. Oh, the one other piece that's probably worth mentioning is maybe you consider Montgomery in this type of a game. Montgomery and Gibbs, they both eat into each other, but they're both really good, and that Lions offense is awesome. So I think Montgomery is like worth considering. But again, these are all guys who probably end up on the outside looking at it for me. Just guys I'm considering at the moment. All right. Next up, Las Vegas and Miami.
So we talked about this in like really, really quickly the other night. We were just taking our first look at the slate. And A-Chain is one of the top options. I have like 6 guys, and he's one of them. I don't have anybody. Actually, I do have 2 guys probably above him, but there's no disputing A-Chain's upside here. And I also, put out there the other day when we start talking that I think Miami could put up a big number here. Now I have nothing to support that. You know what I mean? Like, they haven't done anything. Like, even after Tua has been back, they haven't exactly lit the tote board up. But yet still, I just feel there's a play calling mismatch between McDonald and Pierce. And I think that Miami could just kind of run circles around them, honestly. Mm-hmm. So they're not really projecting all that great for some reason, but I think all those same guys. I mean, Tyreek Hill, Jonnu Smith, hold your nose, play that other guy, Waddle, I guess. Mm-hmm. Malik Washington, not really. I mean, he's still like a legitimate third, fourth guy, whatever. Even though he, looked but not on a full slate. So they're not projecting all that great. But the Miami passing game, I think, is worth taking a shot. And obviously A-Chain. Now the Vegas on the other side, Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers look really, really cheap relative to their upside here. So I think as I talk through this, I think this game is probably worth taking a shot. So I kind of like this whole game.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of great games on this slate, like that are obvious. I mean, we have some obvious ones. Well, actually, even the obvious ones aren't that incredible. I like A-Chain in this game. I'm good with the idea of taking one of Myers or Bowers. I think Miami's defense is too cheap. Those are the pieces, but I actually think A-Chain is like a priority for me, and I'll take a shot on probably one of Myers or Bowers in a good portion of my lineups. And I also would play Hill or Waddle. I actually think this is there is some upside here for these receivers, and this seems like a good spot to sort of, Dolphins get up 10 early or something. Maybe they start taking some shots downfield for Tyreek to get him going again, because it hasn't really happened, especially with the injury. Or maybe they just don't play him after that. I don't really know which one is going to be which, but they need to win games. I think you're going to see Miami put their best foot forward for whatever that means. But really, the only priorities here are A-Chain, one of Myers or Bowers, and then I am okay with potentially taking a shot on Hill or Waddle.
What do you think, by the way, of Odell Beckham? Now, again, I didn't like him on Showdown.
Oh, no, there's not even a consideration, I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think that, like, on a real slate, you can play Odell Beckham.
Well, that's what I was going to say. If it was like a Showdown or something, I would take throw him in there at under 4K. But
if he was like 2K, I wouldn't play him.
Okay.
So, and of course, he's probably going to have like 2 catches, but one will be like a 90-yarder or something like that.
I don't know if he can go that far.
He only plays like 10% of the snaps.
Well, they just picked him up though, right? I mean,
no, he played like 3 weeks without getting a catch, okay. And that was without Washington and without Craycraft.
Fair enough.
Yeah. All right. My Rams in New England.
Yeah. So the Rams have 3 legitimate guys that could put up 30 points. And I don't think Stafford's one of them. It's between Nakua and Kupp and Kyron Williams. I think all 3 of them have the capability of putting up 30. It really is going to require, though, just because of pricing, like the other 2, like really busting. I think it's kind of hard to play 2 of those guys in the same lineup. So if you're going to stack the Rams like that, I think it's difficult. But I think all 3 of those guys look really good. I think that Kyron Williams, again, he's one of 6, as far as I'm concerned, really, really good running back options. I do have Nakua rated number 4 overall and Kupp a little bit lower, but I mean, I can't see a difference between the 2 guys. These 2 guys. I think they're both really, really good plays. Then also we have to see what ownership happens with Davis Allen. We identified this the other day, that the tight end 1, and going into Showdown, it was like 70% reality and 30% kind of speculation. But after what we saw, it's literally 100%. I mean, Parkinson, right. I think maybe had 1 snap, So you're going to get like a tight end 1 at 2,500, So right now he's not even projected all that great for me. But I find it difficult to believe that he's not going to be.
Well, the important thing is their real tight end Tyler Higbee might be back this week.
So, I see him out. Oh, okay.
Right, so he's not officially out. There's ahead of schedule, so they're doing the hedging thing. That's why neither look good. But there's a projection for both that I'm getting.
Okay. Well, if Higbee is in, I'm not going to play Allen at all. But if Higbee is out, I mean, it's going to be tough. I don't say. Listen, it's a 10-game slate with 100 options. I can't say it's tough to fade him, but he's going to be like a really, really good price. At 2,500 being tight end 1. For New England, I mean, go right back to the same guys. I mean, Drake May was very reasonable against Chicago, made some good decisions. The 2 guys I played, the receivers look reasonable. Butte got some targets down the field, 3,500. Polk got a little bit. The guy who I was a little worried about was the Hunter Henry. I played him a bit, and I don't know whether he got out-snapped by him, but it certainly looked like he got out-routed at least by Austin Cooper. And then when it says that he had a foot issue, maybe that kind of explains a little of that, Yeah. He did have 4 targets, but I don't remember any of them, for Hunter Henry. So I'm probably going to be off of that. So it just doesn't feel like the type of game that's gonna blow up a little bit. New England's defense was pretty good against Chicago. I don't know. What do you think about all this?
Yeah, I guess if you want, so I'm with the Rams idea. I like Kyron the best. If I had to pick another play, it would be probably Cup then Nakua, but it's really close between those two, as it always is. It's going to come down to sort of the variance of who gets the touchdown, who gets the big score. And then, as you mentioned, if Higbee is out again, I would consider Davis Allen as a 2,500 spend down. And Stafford is early on looking like he's projecting really well and actually get ownership. I don't think I'm going to do that, but I haven't found a quarterback I like yet. So. Look, if Boutte is, there's no way he's going to be as owned as he's being projected right now. He's not going to be 30% owned as what Saberson.
Oh, no way! Right, really? That's what they're saying.
No way. It's just the early week projections. I've gotten used to it at this point, but it's still not that early. I mean, it's Thursday. Usually on Wednesday is when they're crazy. Stevenson certainly deserves consideration. If I had to pick one quarterback, I would pick Drake May. Although I don't know whether to play him with Henry, Boutte, or Demario Douglas or what. They just are playing so many receivers. So I think the best answer for New England is probably just Stevenson. And I don't think that's even nearly a must. But I do think Kyren is a semi-priority for me.
All right. So Cleveland, New Orleans. All right, I'll start. I'm down. I'm going to do it. You have Jameis going back to New Orleans, but not only that, but they're coming off a bye. Okay, so they've had 2 weeks to prepare as well. Let everybody get a little bit healthy. You got Cedric Tillman. You have Njoku, and not to forget that New Orleans is coming off a really, really big win. You know what I mean, for the new coach against Atlanta last week. Mm-hmm. Prime spot for a freaking letdown here. They as you mentioned, I think they traded Marshawn Lattimore recently, or if not over the week or whatever it was. I think it's and so you get Jameis in a dome with pretty much everything that you want, and relatively cheap price receivers. I'm down with all that. On the New Orleans side, Kamara is one of the top running back plays on the slate. He just always is, it seems. So he's one of my top 6. I don't have it in me to go back to the Marquez Valdez-Scantling thing. It's possible that I try some of this, though. Like, let's see if Cedric Wilson is back. Let's see if Tipton is back. Excuse me, maybe Tipton. Or maybe we should play Valdez-Scantling. I don't know. And then the 90-yard callback for a touchdown guy, Taysom Hill, remains in play. So I think this game could be the game.
I have a feeling that this is going to be a very I think Kamara and Tillman will get some ownership. I don't think anybody else is getting ownership in this game, and I am very, very happy to take some shots in this game as well. You could play the Jameis stack. You don't even necessarily need the quarterbacks, but we know Kamara's already a good play. But if you play the Jameis stack with Tillman and Elijah Moore, you have a cheap stack. You can get in some of the studs to spend up for elsewhere. So I have this as it's not a priority game for me, but it's one on the outside looking in that I may end up rolling with, just because I think it's going to be low owned enough where I like it. And I think it's probably worth it to take shots on guys like MVS in general. At 4,400, gets a little bit different. Now, he put up plenty last week, but those were on 3. It was really, really one big play and then a couple of other little stuff. He only had 3 targets, I think. So I wouldn't just bank on that it's going to be MVS season. But I haven't mentioned, and as you mentioned, Taysom Hill. But the only real priorities for me from this game are Tillman and Kamara, and I think Tillman is a better play than probably even. I think he should be like a cash game play almost. He's getting the work. As their offense has been terrible, he's averaging 10 targets a week with Jameis out there, and he's putting up the numbers. I don't know why we wouldn't play him here with a weak secondary from New Orleans with no Lattimore. So. That's my take.
I'll bring up
Elijah Moore too, by the way.
I'll bring up another guy who you have used to play when nobody would play him. He hasn't done anything it seems like in forever. Could this be a week where Nick Chubb finally does something at 0% ownership?
You know what? I kind of like it. He's getting the workload. Yeah. You know what? Let's sign on for. I like that call, Sheets. I think that's one I'm actually going to try and go out of my way to get. He's actually had a decent enough workload. I mean, he had 15 carries, 16 carries the last couple of weeks. The question is, how much of this season are they really still into it for? Because they're basically done. Do you want to ruin Chubb? So I don't know what I'm looking at his projection. It looks terrible, but
probably terrible. I mean, but listen, remember he was out for the whole year until week 7. You know?
Yeah, no, I remember.
I doubt that they just bring him back so that they can just shut him down. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, even like Saberson has him as 61% chance to score a touchdown. Even that's reasonable. This is a reasonable play. I think I could talk myself into this idea. All right, I'm in on the Chubb idea. I like it. It's a good call. Whether it works or not, I still like it. Baltimore, Pittsburgh, the first game that actually has like a total.
It's the first game that actually has a total, and I don't have a single player from this game listed. Oh wait, I have one guy. I have Zay Flowers from Baltimore as a good play, and that's really all I have from this game as like top plays. I mean, there's like 50 other guys I could look at, but I have like kind of this list here of like 6 receivers, 4 quarterbacks, 4 tight ends that I kind of wanted to highlight, 6 defenses, like 10 receivers, and just none of them come from this game except for Flowers.
Yeah, it's just one of those spots where it's weird because it's a bad matchup for Baltimore, good matchup for Pittsburgh passing game. And look, I'm going to play this game as a stack in different ways. I like Andrews, by the way. We'll see if Likely's available. If Likely's not, people probably haven't caught on to that Andrews has become much more heavily involved. The only problem is it's not like you're getting him at like 3,500, which felt like he should have been priced there after having like zeros for the beginning of the season. But look, he's put up in his last few games, he's been in the teens 4 times. He's 46. It's still a reasonable enough number. He and Pickens are my favorite plays. But I'm telling you right now, I think that there's maybe a little bit of an argument to at some point we have to start considering are they gonna start using Deontay Johnson, or do they even need to? He's 4,800 going back to Pittsburgh. It feels like something that I normally would want to do, but he's just so not a part of this Baltimore offense yet. But maybe with the couple weeks in now, maybe he does get to be, and he's 4,800. Just something I consider. Everybody's sort of eating into each other, but it's a game I like, so I might just force some of these plays in, like the Pickens, potentially a long shot Deontay Johnson play, and then Calvin Austin on the Pittsburgh side, I think is totally in play. I think that there's Baltimore's given up big plays down the field, and Russ Wilson has shown that he can still do that. Why can't Calvin Austin or Mike Williams catch a long touchdown? Mike Williams was the other one I forgot to mention. These are very speculative plays early in the week, but Mike Williams, he caught the game-winning touchdown last week. I don't know how familiarized in the offense he's going to be yet. If you go that angle, play Calvin Austin. If you don't, maybe play a little bit of Mike Williams. And these are like 3%, 5%ers in the lottery. I'm not saying to go crazy with it, but I do want to go out of my way to play more of this game than the field has. All right, next up is Minnesota, Tennessee.
Yep. All right, so I have Justin Jefferson as playable. He always is. Is 8,600. I don't really have Darnold rated all that great. I don't really want to stack these guys. Tennessee, I mean, I guess keep playing Ridley. Gets close to double-digit targets every day, and against the Chargers of all things, he got 25 fantasy points, 2 touchdowns. So he's the main guy over there, and probably a good game script for the Tennessee coming back. So I like that. But overall, I mean, that's pretty much all I have.
Yep, not my favorite game in the world. I would not say you're crazy to play a Levis to Ridley stack, but Ridley's definitely the top play here, I think, and probably the Titans defense would be number 2. I don't know what Minnesota's running situation is right now because we have Aaron Jones questionable, so you might end up with Cam Akers being the most popular player on the slate at 4,600, just because if Aaron Jones goes down, you're going to have that value. So that's
another one, huh? That's another one running back situation. So we have the Josh Jacobs being, if he's out, you have, we'll get to Denver in a minute, and then we have this Minnesota possibility. Okay.
Yeah. And as I tell everybody on our site, don't play my top owned plays, play my second highest owned plays, because I've had my highest owned players at each position basically get hurt every week for the last 4 weeks. So I would like, but my other guys have done great. Just the top guys always get hurt. So when I show my exposure, play the guys who are second most owned at each position, not the most owned. All right, moving on to Indy and New York.
Yeah, so this game and the 4 o'clock games, all these hold a lot of interest for me. The Jet side of this, I'm getting, well, Devontae Adams was not spotted at Thursday's press. It's kind of a weird way to put it. Like he's supposed to be there, but he wasn't there. I don't know. I mean, listen, there's obviously a lot of turmoil and bad vibes, you know, in New York. But nonetheless, I mean, the Colts are a team that we like to target, and the Jets. Nothing has changed between my take from last week and this week with respect to their target share. You know, it's you got Garrett, you got three really talented guys between Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, and Devontae Adams. That and it's a really good matchup for them. Now it was a good matchup last week, and Devontae Adams had like 4 fantasy points or something, or like 3 targets or something, and Wilson I don't think was much better. But I'm inclined to just kind of throw that game out and go right back to it. So I do like. I have actually Garrett Wilson is my number 3 overall receiver on the slate, so I do like that a lot. I have Adams right in the mix. So those two, I have Breece Hall as one of the top 6 running backs. So I'll go right back to those three guys for the Jets. And Indianapolis again, you have to see if Pittman is in or out. If he's out again, Josh Downs is going to look like a really good play, as will Adonai Mitchell. You know, so those are going to be tough to deal with. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I can tell you something so I'm interested a little bit in just I don't even need a receiver to play with him. I'm just interested in playing Anthony Richardson at 5,300. He has the rushing upside to get there on like 2 plays. Like, why are we going to play more Aaron Rodgers than Richardson? And it's a better matchup for the Jets on paper, but like, I'll take a shot with Richardson. I don't care if he's 4 for 19. If he has 2 rushing touchdowns, it's not going to matter anyway. So I don't need to pair him with anybody. I kind of like that. And I kind of like Breece Hall on the other side. I kind of like, if you're not playing Hall, I think playing one of Wilson or Adams makes sense. And I always want to play players against the Jets. And you have a cheap Tyler Conklin I would throw in the mix. But the best play in this game is probably the Jets defense at 2,800. Seems a little too cheap against this team that's just been turning the ball over and getting lit up. But could I do that, Sheets? Would that be the most unusual build ever? A naked Anthony Richardson with the Jets defense against him, and try to win that way? I don't know, but I just thought it was kind of interesting. I do have just one Jet, and again, the priority being Breece Hall right now. But I want to see what we hear from Adams a little bit later in the week before I make my final decision. A lot of ugly games. Not doesn't look like it's going to be a very high scoring week at first glance.
What's the total in this game? It's not that good. The Jets game
43.5.
It's a little. It seems low to me. I don't know.
The Jets don't score any points.
No, I know, but yet still, I mean, this is a good match. Should be a good matchup for them.
Yeah.
So just so you mentioned the defenses, I skipped over a couple as you went through the games. I do have the Jets rated as the top defense, just because these are other teams that we talked about. I have Detroit against Jacksonville. No surprise there. Miami, and you mentioned them. Miami, I like them as defense against the Raiders. Green Bay, actually, I had as Chicago. I probably want to scale back at them a little bit. I actually had the Titans as a cheap defense against Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Darnold is he's very, very giving as far as fantasy points goes. And then we talked about the Rams a little bit, so I like the Rams defense also. All right. Okay, ready to one other thing I mentioned. I wasn't even aware that Anthony Richardson was playing when we talked about this. Mm-hmm. But it reminded me of something. One of the reasons why I was hesitant to play Adonai Mitchell in the showdown a couple of weeks ago was when I was looking into him a little bit. It was saying that they haven't, not completely, but in part, that he had a really, really good rapport with Anthony Richardson specifically. And so I'm like, do I want to play him with Flacco? You know, and I ended up playing him anyway, whatever. But I remembered that. So if he does in fact have this good rapport with Richardson, then I think I would go back to the Adonai Mitchell.
Yeah, there must be something from practice. I've heard the same thing, but there's been nothing on the field to show anything of it.
Okay. Well, he hasn't played though, Richardson, in a while, right?
But Adonai Mitchell just had the best game of his career at 13 fantasy points last week. So
no, right. But I'm okay.
No. I was saying, but he and with Richardson, nothing ever happened on the field between the two of them that made you excited. Okay. I was just saying I think it was a practice thing. I've heard the same thing you've heard for sure. I think it was that. All right, I guess these are going to be the more interesting game sheets. Talk a little bit about Atlanta, Denver.
Yeah, just some value all over the place in this game. So we kind of alluded to this earlier. The Denver running back situation is just very interesting. You know, you got to do a lot of digging into this, but the sort of, I don't want to say out of nowhere, but Audric Estime got 14 rushes. He out rushed everybody. He doesn't get any targets or anything like that, but it's not like he was great. But the fact is, he did get the majority of the work. And if he's going to get the majority of the work, and he's 4,500, he's going to project. Eventually, he's going to project to be like one of the best plays on the slate. To this point, he's not. He's projecting like 10 points or something like that. But I have this weird feeling that with Coach
Saberson's got him quite a bit higher.
Oh, really?
Okay. He's got him as the highest owned running back, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to see about that. I also would not be surprised if that was just kind of weird nonsense, and that they go back to the other guys. I don't know the answer. But if in fact, listen, there are people that get paid a lot of money to do this research throughout the industry, and if everybody's kind of secure with the fact that he's going to be the RB1, it's going to be tough to fade at 4,500. Yeah. Other guys though from Denver, Sutton at 5,900. He's perfectly fine here against Atlanta. Your Vele guy at 3,900 is pretty cheap. On the Atlanta side, once again, I'm getting to Drake London. He just doesn't feel like a ceiling type of guy right now, but he certainly looks somewhat decent. And weirdly, I'm not getting the projection on Bijan that I thought I'd be getting. So it's really not as much as I thought. It's Estime if right, and then Cortland Sutton, and then maybe Drake London. But maybe the game isn't as exciting as I thought it was going to be.
It's just one of the we haven't come through. There's like almost been nothing. We talked a little about Cleveland, New Orleans, the Baltimore, Pittsburgh's hard to get the guys in and justify. Like we don't have any games, to go after. I think this is one that you like. Other than Estime, I think London's fine. I think Bijan's fine. Both these defenses have been better than people thought about. It's probably why they're not showing up. But I'm okay with just taking a shot and saying, okay, that's one of the games that I want to have 10% of my stacks involved with, because we don't have that many other options. So I'm okay to gamble on this game a little bit, even though Estime is really the only individual play that shows up as a really strong play. I think Bijan Robinson you could just play every week and consider it a good play. I don't think there's anything special about this matchup. This is a good Denver team, a good Denver defense. But then again, this week we don't have a lot of good games, so we have to sort of change our way of thinking a little bit. All right. Next up is which one?
San Francisco, Seattle is the last second to last game.
Yeah.
So I'm going to repeat the same thing I did from last week, is that, San Francisco is healthy and they have all their guys back. But Purdy, as a result, he's just live for 4 touchdown passes. And I don't know exactly who to play him with. And if I get him by himself, I think it's totally fine. And last week he didn't even get the 4 touchdown passes, and he still had 26 fantasy points. You know what I mean? He got 17 rushes as well. Did he get a TD? No. He even cost himself a fumble, and yet still, he was able to get 26. And he's just got all these weapons that he's just gonna amass points. It's not like Seattle's that great defensively. So I think Purdy's a really, really good play. I don't know exactly how I'm going to play him, but if I get to him, I'm just not even going to care about whether I'm stacking him or not. Other things, Christian McCaffrey is one of the other, one of the top 6 running backs. To recap of those, actually, I have one more coming in a second, but I have McCaffrey currently rated first. Mm-hmm. I have McCaffrey and Kamara kind of close, and the reason why, again, I just think Kamara is just as good, but feels just as good as McCaffrey is. As I said, who does New Orleans have except for Kamara? And San Francisco's got 100 guys, and now they got to worry about making freaking idiot Deebo Samuel happy. You know what I mean? Because he got pissed off at the kicker and the long snapper. So they're getting, and they want to get Kittle the ball. They want to get everybody the ball. Everybody's Jennings kind of deserves targets. He's been doing great. So it's not so easy to say McCaffrey's just going to get everything. But you could pencil him in for a touchdown pretty much every game. Pencil him in for 20 points. And he's got upside to 30, as always. So yeah. I like him. From the Seattle side, you're getting in a lot of I guess good projections here. Geno specifically, I'm not getting a great projection on the receivers, but as we talked about during the week, I just think that you just keep playing JSN, at 65. Even though, listen, it's not as good. It's not as good of a play. With Metcalf back, obviously, but still, I think he's relatively inexpensive. And Kenneth Walker is always a good play. So he actually rounds out the sixth running back. So I sort of feel what you kind of I think you brought this up. This could be that game that we've been waiting for. That San Francisco has not delivered yet.
Right.
Where they put it on somebody. You know what I mean? Just haven't seen to do it yet, but they've got everybody now. They've got a good matchup. They're at home. How about the 38 points? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I think that's in the cards. So I think that Seattle, they're going to – I don't think it'll be popular or whatever it is. I'm just a little nervous that they just kind of get beat on this game, So I don't know. But I think Purdy's good. I think McCaffrey's good. I just got to leave it at that, I guess.
Yeah, I'm a little. This is the game I feel the most comfortable just targeting as a main stack of everything. I want to be over every single thing. I want to be over on Purdy, over on Geno. Yep. I want to be over on McCaffrey. I want to be over on Kenneth Walker. I want to be over on Ricky Pearsall. I want to be way over on the Seattle receivers, especially DK and JSN. And I want to be over on Debo. I also will have it's not going to be hard to get over on George Kittle. Like you get 5%, that'll be over the field. I'll play some of that. This is the only game that makes sense to me as like a true game stack, like that I could see it happening. It doesn't even need to happen in even if San Francisco kills them, this doesn't mean there's not going to be a 70-yarder to Metcalf and he doesn't end up with 4 for 110.
38-24 or something
like that. I mean, this feels like there's really not that much to get excited about. I mean, remember, these are not the same Chiefs and Bills that played back in the day. So we'll get to that game in a second. But I think this is the best game on the slate to try and target for fantasy, just given everything, along with potentially the Baltimore-Pittsburgh. And projections be damned. We can try to keep individually finding the best piece here and there, but if you're going to try to make a stack, and I think that's fine to try and find the best piece, I think this is the game you want to stack. I think it's good to be over on everybody. That's where I'm at.
Buffalo, Kansas City have been playing against each other now, for 5 years with this crew. I mean, not this crew, with Mahomes and Allen, right? And every single game, and I'm just kind of speaking anecdotally, it just feels that way. Every single game is a 50-point total, and every single game, this big shootout's been scripted out. And what happens is, at least for the first half, it's really slow. Okay, it seems as though every time these guys play, they just feel each other out. They don't give anything away. They just kind of march it down the field sometimes, and it might pick up in the second half, right? But it's never like a big old shootout. So you mentioned that this is not the same Kansas City's and Buffalo's.
Well, actually, I would say in those other games there were a lot of shootouts. There was a ton of.
It didn't seem like I was going to say like in the first half it wouldn't be so.
Oh, maybe. I
remember you said a couple of those like first half.
Yeah.
Now this cuts both ways. Okay, so yes, these are not the same Buffalo, specifically Buffalo. Like they don't really have the same offensive, juice as when Diggs and other guys were there, whatever. And they were just kind of like just getting 40 every game. And they're also, you don't have Keon Coleman in, but it's so funny to think about. Oh my God, they have a problem because they don't have Keon Coleman in. What the hell has become of Buffalo where that's the case? But the thing about it is the Buffalo's defense is also not as good. So you have Kansas City, who maybe they're not as high powered, but you got Kelsey, who is freaking killing it. You have DeAndre Hopkins, who may have found a good situation, over there. And remember, he's still a kind of an elite route runner. He's still an elite fight for the ball guy. And you get down to that freaking goal line, no one's better at Mahomes than keeping plays alive and whatever it is. Between him and Worthy and Kelsey and even Hunt, I do think Kansas City is live to put up a number here, and this is a game where, nobody's really expecting. Like every week, Kansas City, oh my God, Kansas City's so lucky they won again. They suck, worst 9-0 team ever. They just kind of like do whatever. I don't know. I just don't want people to just not play Kansas City.
Right.
Actually the opposite. I do want people not play Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can play a little of that. So I actually do like the Kansas City side of this somehow, and I almost never play this team. Buffalo, as I mentioned, you have Coleman out. We have to watch for the news on Cooper. He's a limited participant, whatever it is. I think that if he is out, then I think you could really pound on these two guys, on Shakir and Mac Hollins. You could even think about maybe Curtis Samuel. He doesn't seem like the guy that's going to get a big ceiling or anything like that, but I don't know. But I think that if Cooper is in, I don't know. I don't think Cooper's done. You know what I mean? Like I look at Cooper as kind of like a weird version of Hopkins as far as like the discussion of it. Even Cooper's younger, even right.
Right.
So I do like Cooper. Kansas City's defense has been really good, to be fair, but I don't know. And then there's Kincaid still. I still think there's a lot of talent on both these teams, and I'm not gonna fade this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think this is. I mean, again, it's partly because I don't have other games to choose from. If there were other games, I'd go for it. But really like Kelsey here. I love Kareem Hunt. Remember, be careful with the narratives with things. That people were talking all about how Kareem Hunt doesn't have any receptions. He caught 7 passes last week.
He sure did.
So why don't we can take that into account here? And like this is if you play them a certain way, Mahomes will find the way to pick you apart. Yeah, I think this is another one. I'm just gonna look. I guess that's what I'm gonna be. I'm gonna be the afternoon guy this week because I'm very like San Francisco, Seattle, a little bit of Atlanta, Denver, and then KC, Buffalo. Yeah, I'll play it. I don't necessarily need the quarterbacks. If I did, it would be Allen just because he's got that tremendous upside. But I do feel like Mahomes is going to have that game at some point. It's just Allen has it basically every week. You're guaranteed like at least like a 20 basically. But Kelsey, Hunt are my favorites, followed by Cooper. I kind of am interested in James Cook at low ownership. I feel like there's a lot of perception, and it's kind of confusing like what they're doing because we were all worried about Ray Davis taking stuff away from him. Well, Ray Davis had like 2 touches last week, so I can't figure out. And then it was Tyler Johnson got more looks. I don't even know what they're doing entirely, but I like the idea of maybe getting to a little bit of Cook, and then we'll just have we just have to see if Cooper's healthy. But Cooper, Hopkins, Hunt, Kelsey feel like good guys to be over on for me.
All right, so let me. I think I know the teams that I want to kind of target here. Some are probably. I don't even know who. I don't even know who's going to be the popular stack, honestly.
I don't either. If there is even going to be one.
I guess San Francisco, Seattle, I would imagine. But I'm going to identify a couple of, for me, logical ones, and then a couple of hoodoo's. Miami, I like Miami. I like Cleveland, I guess New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Jets. I mean, I don't like the Jets, but I like the Jets against the Colts. San Francisco, I like, but I don't know how to play them. I like this Kansas City side. And then, again, I don't know why I want to do this, but I might want to try Chicago. It's like such a gross freaking play. They just did nothing, against New England. Okay, let's not say that. Okay, so I was watching that game pretty intently. The first 3 possessions, they got down to the New England 30-35, and then Caleb Williams literally took a 3rd down sack out of field goal range, 3 straight possessions.
Oh, I know. That was crazy.
I mean, one thing leads to another, and maybe they're up 21-0, and the whole narrative is different,
Yeah.
So I'm not giving up on Caleb Williams yet. Like you say sometimes in baseball, the guy's like 20 years old,
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like give the guy a break, and Sadunzi still has freaking upside. DJ Moore is still really good. Komet's still solid. And Green Bay has given up some points. So,
right.
And first time new coach, new offensive coordinator. I don't know how the freaking head coach got out of that mess, but first time new coordinator. I don't know. I think they're going to do something. So I would say that's going to be that'll be kind of a weird hoodoo play for me.
Yeah, and I actually agree with that. And also, I want to. That's sort of my argument for Anthony Richardson too. And I'm not saying even this week, but don't give up on these guys because Anthony Richardson is younger than all the quarterbacks who are going to go in the top 5 this year. Like he's still so young. He was, when you come in as 19 years old or 20 years old or whatever he was, you just got a lot of upside to go from there. And I like I like the afternoon ones, like I mentioned, but I like your Cleveland New Orleans thing as a kind of a fun idea. It's a really weird week to get game stacks, and I feel like if there's a couple that you can find that have a chance, I think it's that one in the San Francisco Seattle. It wouldn't surprise anybody if that Cleveland New Orleans game just went all kinds of bonkers because every game. I mean, most of the games New Orleans has played this year have kind of gone wild, and Cleveland has been just all over the map.
I think these guys on Cleveland are going to be a huge chalk. I mean, I'm thinking about this.
You think so?
I don't know. I hope not. But DFS guys love playing freaking Winston. They just do.
They do. That's very true.
And they're getting.
We love our narratives too.
They're getting a spot. They're getting a slate without a lot to choose from.
Yeah.
And then Tillman has just played every week, and Njoku's played every week. So we're gonna pivot off of all of that and play Nick Chubb. How about that?
Yeah, I love it. I like the chip call was one of my favorite ones you threw out there. All right. Well, congrats again, man, on the NBA Alley last night. Hopefully, we continue it going into the weekend and then have a big Sunday.
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys live at 11 a.m. Eastern time with Rhodey to do our Sunday final look.